What's up, everybody? My name is Dana Harris with Gurus Math Tutoring, and I'm back again to drop some more math jewels. In this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about the graph of a quadratic equation, or the graph of a quadratic expression. So I'm going to first just write down what the standard form of a quadratic equation looks like. So what it looks like is this: y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. Now this is standard form of a quadratic equation. Okay. So a can be any number, b can be any number, and c can be any number. Now there are some different traits about the graph of this equation. First of all, the graph of this equation is called a parabola. Okay. And a parabola is either going to be a U shape or an N shape. So it kind of looks like this. Or, so it'll look like that, or it's going to be the flip of that. So it might look like that, almost like an N. All right. Now, let's talk about how we know whether it's going to look like the U or the N shape. So first of all, we got to look at this A term, the leading coefficient. All right. And so if A is negative, so if A is less than 0, then it's going to be, it's going to open down. Okay, so I'm going to just say open down. When A is less than 0, so less than 0, if this number right here is a negative number, that graph is going to open down. So it's going to look like this. Okay, so that's when A is negative. All right, now when A is positive, so if A is greater than 0, then obviously it's going to open up. Okay, so it'll look like this. All right. Now sometimes they're wider, sometimes they're narrower, but we'll get into that. That's a different part of this actual topic. Okay, so those are probably the two most basic things when it comes to the graph of a quadratic equation, right? Now, the next thing we want to talk about is we want to talk about the vertex. All right, the vertex. So now, when I want the vertex is going to be the highest point or the lowest point on that graph. So when it opens downward like that, then that vertex is going to be that maximum point. All right. Well, when they open upward, that vertex is going to be that minimum point. So this is a maximum point and a minimum point. And like I said, some of them are wider. You may see some that are wide like that. Some are more narrow. They come in different shapes. But the key thing is that vertex is that maximum point or that minimum point. Okay. Now there's a way that we can find the vertex of this parabola. Okay. So the way that we find this vertex is we're going to say, first of all, we have to say the x coordinate of the vertex is x equals negative b over 2a. All right. So the x coordinate of the vertex, because the vertex is an ordered pair, it's negative b over 2a. So whatever b is and whatever a is, we plug it into this fraction, right? Or I'm sorry, into this equation. And then to find the y coordinate, we say f of negative b over 2a. All right, that's the y coordinate of the vertex. So basically what the vertex ordered pair looks like is right here, negative b over 2a, and then the y coordinate would be f of negative b over 2a. Okay, so that would be the vertex. All right, now all of this is just theory. Of course, I'm going to show you an example of how to apply it. Okay, so those are probably the most basic things when you talk about the graph of a quadratic equation, or finding the different traits of a quadratic equation. You also can find the axis of symmetry. Okay, so when I have that x equals negative b over 2a, that's also the axis of symmetry. Okay, what do I mean by the axis of symmetry? Well, if something is symmetric, so for example, if I have this as my parabola, then, and this is my minimum, as well as my vertex, well, the axis of symmetry is a line that goes right up the middle of that. So I can basically, it's symmetric on this line. So the axis of symmetry is always the x-coordinate of the vertex. But let's go ahead and apply this, and let's use an example. So the example I want to use is if I have the equation y equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 8. Okay, so if I want to, first of all, we need to identify our a, b, and c. So in this case, a equals negative, let's erase that. A equals -1 because it has a negative sign in front of it, and it's understood to be a 1. B is equal to -2. C is equal to 8. All right, so let's find the vertex first. Well, if we want to find the vertex, let's talk about, first of all, this is going to open down because A is negative. So the graph of this is going to open downward. So then that means that vertex is going to be a maximum point. So it would look something like this. Now, this is definitely not drawn to scale. We just know because A is negative, it's going to have a maximum point, and it's going to open down. All right. Now let's find exactly where that is. So if I want to find the vertex, the x-coordinate is -b. So the opposite of -2. Remember, that's the opposite over 2 times -1. All right. So let's simplify that. The opposite of -2 is +2, and then 2 times -1 is -2. So the x-coordinate would be -1. This is also the axis of symmetry. Okay, so if it asks you what is the axis of symmetry of this quadratic equation, it would be x equals -1. So that tells me where x is equal to -1, there's that line of symmetry. All right, now in order to find the y-coordinate of this maximum point, we need to find f of -1. Well, how do you do that? We're going to plug this -1 back into that original function. Okay, so it's going to look like this. We're going to find f of -1. All right, we no longer need the a, b, and c. So f of -1 is going to equal to, we're just plugging in -1 into the original function. And then we simplify. All right, so f of -1 is -1 to the second power is +1, still the opposite of 1. Okay, make sure you're careful with that. -2 times -1, well, whenever we subtract a negative, it's just like adding. So technically, let's write it like this. So this would be the opposite of +1. So this +1 comes from -1 to the second power. Keep the negative sign out there. Then we say -2 times -1 is -2, and then plus 8. All right, let's simplify that now. So f of -1 is -1. If we subtract the negative, that's just like adding, plus 8. So then -1 plus 2 is 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. Okay? F of -1 is 9. All right? So now, here we go. Let's say, we have, so that means the y-coordinate is 9, right? So the ordered pair of the max, or the maximum point is, so the max is going to be at the ordered pair -1, 9, right? And the axis of symmetry is at x equal -1. So those are the different things that we can do with this, the graph of this quadratic equation. All right, so this is standard form once again. This is an example, and then for this example, we said that it opens downward because A is negative. It has a maximum point. That maximum point or vertex is at the ordered pair -1, 9. The axis of symmetry is x equals -1. All right, so watch this again, rewind it, things like that. But these are just some things that you need to know about some traits or some or how to describe the graph of a quadratic equation. Remember, that graph is called a parabola. Young Gurus Math Tutoring, I got the solution to your math problem.